Hello everyone! Today we would like to tell you about our fight against weeds in watermelon cultivation. Now you will say, mulching was done, our fight against weeds was completed. Why are we still fighting against weeds? As you know, watermelon arms reach 3 to 4 meters in length. We cannot completely cover the field with mulching nylon. There is mulching nylon only where we planted the watermelon seedling, that is, where the watermelon's root is. As the watermelon grows, the watermelon arms grow horizontally out of the mulching nylon. When the watermelon arms grow longer, the arms fill the 3-4 meters space we left as a bed. Since there is no mulching nylon, weeds appear in the gaps. Since the drip pipes are under the mulching nylon, irrigation occurs directly under the mulching nylon. When there is irrigation under the mulching nylon, weeds grow there. Since it is mulching nylon, weeds cannot get on the nylon. In this way, we complete our fight against weeds. However, even if there is no irrigation system in the middle parts, weeds start to grow when it rains. Because the grass there is also starting to feed. It is fed by both the rain and the soil there. They do not grow much when there is no rain, but even a little rain helps them grow. In this way, we carry out the process of plowing the empty areas. We either attach the agricultural equipment, which we call crowbar, to the tractor, or we attach the hoe. The anchor is also connected to the shaft. After starting it with a shaft and plowing it with a tractor, we get rid of weeds and thin the soil. When there is too much hard and clogged soil, we can thin the soil with agricultural equipment called hoe. Moreover, when it is like this, there remains a thin soil between the watermelons, because we are chopping the clods. Moreover, since it completely uproots the weeds die more quickly. Anchoring means slightly more fuel costs. Driving with a crowbar means slightly less fuel costs. Goosefoot also removes weeds by scraping them slightly below the soil. When there is more grass, we carry out hoeing. We do this process twice. First stage, it takes place after removing the agricultural tool, when the watermelon arms are slightly smaller. After removing the agricultural tool, the watermelon arms have not yet grown and are inside the tool. We apply the watermelon arms without arranging them. After plowing the empty areas with a tractor, they are cleared of weeds. We start straightening the watermelon arms horizontally in the direction they will go. If we don't arrange the watermelon arms, the ground will go in the direction. If we do not edit it, we make the process we do in the second stage more difficult, and a worse and more confused image emerges. When there is too much wind, there is a possibility that the arms arranged will interfere with each other. If we do this process properly, it will look more beautiful. Of course, just because we did it this way does not mean that all our processes are completed. As the watermelon arms grow, they can extend left and right, both from the wind and from the resprouting arms. It can be completely mixed after a while. In fact, when the watermelon arms grow, they completely cover the field. First, after removing the agricultural tool, we apply the application between them. We go once and come back once with the tractor. The length of the agricultural tool, we call the crowbar, only serves our purpose horizontally. We cannot drive with crow's feet in one go. We drive vertically from the right side the first time and from the left side the second time. In the second stage, where we plow the watermelon fields, you cannot move forward by lifting the arms a few rows. When you lift the watermelon arms, you need to close the watermelon arms as they are on top of the mulching nylon. After applying the gaps, you need to bring the watermelon arms back to their original state. Since the weather is hot, if we leave the watermelon arms like this for too long, the watermelon arms start to turn their leaves upwards, thinking that they will stay that way. Since we throw the watermelon arms that you rearranged back and forth, they become worn out and we damage them in this way. Of course, it gets worn out while doing this. We need to do it slower, but if we keep the watermelon arms open, it will cause more trouble. That's why when we remove the watermelon arms, we need to immediately spread the spaces between them and straighten the watermelon arms again. If our team is crowded, we lift the watermelon arms a few rows at a time, spread them between them and arrange them again. Because it takes a lot of time to lift and straighten the watermelon arms. If the watermelon grows large enough, its arms grow too long and it starts to bloom, or even a watermelon begins to form, it is recommended that we do not plow the spaces between the watermelon. Because this time we are damaging the watermelon arms. We damage the watermelon that falls and the blossoming flower of the watermelon. The flowers may fall off during the process. It is important to do this process without causing wear and tear. In fact, many farmers or agricultural engineers recommend that we only control weeds when the watermelon arms are small. Because when we do this, when the watermelon arms grow longer, we wear out the watermelon. We need to do these operations without causing any harm. We feel like we're hitting watermelon arms. Watermelon arms look like a doozy. After these procedures, the watermelon arms recover immediately. We did this process twice in the field where we planted early watermelons. But in our field where we planted late. We did not have time to do this process a second time after doing it once, because it rained too much. Since it was raining, the soil remained muddy, and we did not want to do the plowing process while the soil was muddy. Since it rained, the watermelon arms grew longer and the watermelon started to grow. Then the grass in the middle started to grow. Watermelon arms covered the entire field. That's why we didn't do the second operation, because the vines on the watermelon arms wrapped each other and the weeds tightly. When we straighten those arms, we are already damaging the arms. That's why we didn't do the second phase. Actually, doing these operations is entirely up to you. You can do it if you want, or you cannot if you don't. This is how watermelon is produced. We know a lot of people who don't do it. For example, these operations are generally carried out after rainfall, because if it is done before the rain, the soil will be nourished again. And after that, the weeds may appear again. That's why, if there's too much rain in a row, if we can't do it on time, and if it gets too big, we can't do it at all. This situation is not the end of everything. Watermelon grows this way too. The watermelon field will be weedy, but it will prevent sunburn during harvest time. Although watermelon is difficult to pick, it does not get sunburned. It hides among the grass. If we don't get rid of the weeds before the watermelons get too big, the weeds will take away the fertility of the soil. This prevents or delays the growth of the watermelon. The fertility of the soil is distributed among weeds and watermelons. If you ask us, after removing the agricultural tool, it would be best to do it for the first time, while the watermelon arms are still small. It would be better to do it a second time before the watermelon flowers drop and the watermelon arms grow too long. But if you missed the time or were the victim of too much rain like us, you don't need to do it. If weeds appear before the watermelon grows too much, this time the weeds take away the productivity of the watermelon. When weeds take over the yield of the watermelon cannot grow very much. Therefore, it would be better to clear the watermelon field from weeds. After completing this process, we carry out the irrigation process. It would be healthier to irrigate the watermelon after plowing it. There are also methods that can be done by using chemicals without plowing the watermelon fields. You can choose these methods if you wish. I don't want to use chemicals. If you want, you can make it by applying watermelon seeds. If you really have to, you can use chemical medicine if you want. These drugs do not remove most of the weeds. If you wish, you can do this by consulting an agricultural engineer who knows your soil, garden, and watermelon plant well. Today we told you about our fight against weeds in the watermelon field. How do we plow the watermelon fields with a tractor? We talked about it. We are trying to convey to you all the processes of watermelon cultivation as much as we can. If you find any parts missing or incorrect, you can inform us. If there is anything you want to ask, if there is something you want to learn, if there is something we can relearn, please do not hesitate to ask us. You can write to us in the comments section. Don't forget to support us. Keep farming.